Training camp is in full swing, and we've got tons of coverage leading up into this week, and we're one step closer to a brand new season of the UFL. This is the UFL Podcast. Episode 96 starts right now.
1, 2, 3.
To the UFL Podcast. I am Zach Kyleman, sitting here in the hosting chair this week, as always, and going to get the introductions right out of the way real quick, as usual. Next to me, on whatever screen is going to be on screen, it is the ref himself, Stefan. Good to see you, good sir. There's a lot of things we got to discuss now. Back to weekly shows for us. But training camp's in full swing, my friend. Lots of stuff coming out. I am almost in sensory overload mode when I'm on X anymore because these guys are punching so much content out right now.
This is exactly what I was hoping to see. We were talking about this on the last episode. I said, when this training camp comes, I want to see content. And that's exactly what we're getting. Every day we have a little bit, a few more nuggets, and we're going to talk about Media Day. It's just kicked off at the time of the recording, and we're already seeing some pretty fun things come out of the league. I'm looking forward to it. Episode 96, closer to 100. Oh, we're getting
one step closer. That episode 100 is going to be a big shebang. I have some thoughts, that early things that him and I will be talking about that, but episode 100 is nearby, but we're still in the now right now. Before we get even deeper into Media Day and a few other things that we will definitely discuss because they are newsworthy. Trust me, anything that's happened this past week, we're touching base on. So stay with us on there. But for now, hey, while we're at it, if you haven't followed us along, click on the bell below and the subscription button. Click the bell, builds morale, not only for you, but for us too, because we keep growing the UFL crew over here at UFL Podcast. Also, be sure to follow us on our socials at UFL Podcast across the board. Anywhere you can imagine social media, Facebook, Instagram, X especially. Go on there for TikTok. We got that too. Go and follow us. We got stuff going on. Be sure to follow us on all your platforms. And, while we're at it too, check out our, we still got that Royal Retros link. I always got to make sure, because last episode we had to make sure to clarify that the one is resting in pasture. But Royal Retros, use at USFL Podcast for, I believe it's 10% off your own order. That is at USFL Podcast, the OG code, to get a little bit off some swag for official stuff, not only, official or retro gear, but especially official AF1 stuff. I'll punch that in while I'm at it for your favorite teams. So while we're at it too, gotta say, we are making preparations for Spring Stock 4. It is coming up. The fourth rendition of the greatest kickoff show that is to be for spring football is coming your way. Houston, Texas on March 28th. Remember, Friday night football is this season. We are heading under the lights out in southern Texas, and it's going to be a blast. I know for the ref, this one's going to be extra special because it is not only a tailgate, it's a home tailgate for him. If you wanted any extra ref in your life, that this is the show to watch. You will get the most 12-0s you have ever heard in your life coming Friday, March 28th.
Might be unbearable. I might be unbearable
I
on
am
the
mentally
show.
preparing myself for what you are going to do or how much you will hype this up, because I know it's going to be over the top.
I hope you all show up. If you can't make it in person, join us online. But you know what? We were just talking about, folks that we're going to have on the show. I feel bad, Zach. I feel bad because we were talking about this on ATU, about the picture of all of us with Daryl Johnston. And when I say all of us, I mean all of us except for Ducky, because we were too rude to invite him into the picture. I don't know. I never even thought about it until he brought it up the other day. So I'm going to say it now. Ducky's going to be at Spring Stocks. Ducky's going to be at Spring Stock 4. Love him or hate him, that's where you can find him. And the party's in the parking lot, so it's going to be a good situation. We're going to have RC Cola. We're going to have chips. We're probably going to have even a dip to go for and with those chips. We'll probably have some other goodies if you want to bring some goodies. We're not going to stop you from bringing some goodies as well. We're going to be tailing the gate like we did in St. Louis as well, where, you know, the party's not just at our tailgate, it's in the parking lot. Come and join us live or on YouTube. Live either way, I suppose.
Grand question I have for this edition. Will we get a beer passed to us during a show like last season? And will it be a Lone Star? Just to tie in the Texas culture a little bit.
Well, I mean, if somebody doesn't do it, I'm going to bring some because
remember we got Modelo's. We got Modelo's last year from some Renegades fans. And, you know, I still appreciate that crisp drink all the same.
I just remember getting that drink and drinking it and then looking at the time and it was like, what was it, like 9:30 or 10:30 in the morning?
And we had to go and do like the press box work and get the write up and all that.
I don't know if I ever told you this, Zach. Remember when I got you like water and a pop? And,
yes.
I went and slammed a beer in between. I was like, man, it's boring up there. There's no food or anything.
That's so hilarious.
A Budweiser.
Now I feel like I missed out.
I can imagine you were probably like, what is taking him so long? Well,
it's funny. That explains so much because that was the thing. I was thinking that. I was like, where the hell did this guy go? Did he start roaming the stadium? Could he not find the elevator?
I just realized I never told you that, and I didn't want to say it in the press box.
That makes it so much better.
By the way, my press credentials for this year are pending, so hopefully nobody's watching this one. I would never do that. Only in that.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
To be determined.
Anyway, Spring Stock 4. We hope to see you there.
Yes,
you can drink.
Party
if you're 21.
Party will probably be in the parking lot. Just gonna keep using that one too. But no, we're gonna have a great time. Honestly, anytime with fans of the league always is the best. You know, it's funny because like we still meet new people every episode. Like I still remember like Springstock 3, we had some OG Stars fans from Ohio come out and like we sat down and talked with them about their trip. And that's the thing. Like you never know who you see at these games. But I think it'll be special because like you've been hyping up TDCU forever. I'm looking forward to seeing that venue, and you know, hopefully people come out and respond to it being back at that venue. So yeah, lots of stuff to look forward to.
You're witnessing history in so many ways, Zach. Not only are you going to be there for the first game of the 12-0, but we were talking about this on ATU as well. It's the Space City Credit Union, Space City Financial, Space City something stadium. And we're going to be there for its first event, its debut. You know what? Give me them scissors and let me cut that ribbon, baby. Because just, you know what? Just for the hell of it, just let me have my hurrah here, guys. Depending on, well, I won't say that on the show.
Rumors say the stadium will launch to the moon by the end of the fourth quarter.
I mean, with me in the crowd, anything's possible.
Hey, complimentary space suit and spacewalk. Courtesy.
I wonder if I could find. Never mind. Anyway, we
go to the moon. We were given a bunch of drill, baby, drill. Look for that ore. No, I'm kidding. All right, tangent over. Back to reality, and yeah, let's get some formality stuff out of the way. Look, I didn't want to go and revisit this topic, but we have to. If we didn't leave the show with talking this, I think a lot of disservice will be done. Mm-hmm. Union discussions, boy, oh boy, this is becoming quite a fun talk. Not only in our Discord, by the way, link in the description, but especially on social media. There are sides being taken by fans right now on this debate, and I'm really we're doing this because there's been some updates and later new developments on this. Mm-hmm. So last we sat in. The union itself, the UFPA, United Football Players Association, who is running this now after the USW, United States Steelworkers, has moved on last offseason, they were given a proposal. They rejected proposal. They countered said proposal. Nothing was heard, so likely the league did not take that proposal. So they're still back and forth right now. Apparently they got a second proposal. We hadn't heard anything back from that. I'm not sure if that's been accepted, but still things are going down behind the scenes. They are talking at the moment. However, other stuff related to union activity or things like that have been happening or supposedly have been happening. And a lot of sites that I think at times choose when to discuss the league are starting to decide to do this a little bit more in a certain way. So, and ESPN, credit, they do cover the league, but I mean, I don't know if they cover it the best and most consistent of the big groups, but Kevin Seifert's been through the name of the game for years. He's one of the best ones with insider information too, when he does do write-ups on the spring scene. And he put out just, yesterday of this recording, funny enough, that just a little updates on some of the strife going on with the league. And there were talks that some players, not all, some people said all, it's not the case. Some players were talking about sitting out media days, which are happening right now as we're recording, to protest the CBA negotiations not going their way. Certain reports were put out that Daryl Johnson said that he was threatening, telling coaches and threatening that there would be certain cuts to players if players decided to skip out on media day. And it's kind of made a big fiasco online. Daryl did come out and he did clarify his statements on these rumors. We'll read these statements from Kevin's follow-up on this. But I mean, you've got ESPN, Front Office Sports, Pro Football Talk, who has talked the most about the UFL than it's ever before, any spring league than ever before. They are hammering home on this union talk. Like, it is the next big deal. But it's not going away. And, it's going to keep coming up. Quite frankly, Stefan, I'm almost worn out talking to this with people, but, it's par for the course, I think, for some of the bigger sites to kind of find this is the choice to talk about the league's follow-up season. And I know it's a big deal if the big what if happens. Right, but I want to clarify, in reality, I can't see it getting there. And I think that's what's crazy. I can't see it getting there. I think people are not talking enough about how this is a tiered CBA. It's not going to be a end-all, be-all, big money grab 1-year deal. Like, there's a lot of stuff not being discussed. And I'm kind of shocked that we, after several years of seeing collective bargaining agreements in this space, are somehow thinking that and simplifying this way too much to where it seems like it's this, I just want a big upgrade in salary right now.
Yeah. Well, I think the one of the strange parts of it to me is when we look at the people that are talking about this, it does seem strange that we're seeing a lot from Front Office Sports and ESPN, which both kind of in certain ways have a business relationship in one way or another with the UFL. And that's fine. If you want to report on this news, I don't think you shouldn't report on bad news. So
we got to clarify.
I want to clarify that. I think
just because you're owned doesn't mean you can't talk about said subject. So, yeah. But
it just seems interesting to me that is seemingly the only articles, though, that Front Office Sports is putting out about this league. There isn't talk, like, where is also the talk of, hey, this league is kicking off. This is how you watch these games. Here's what's going on in training camp. Like, why is it only the negative article? Now, granted, part of this is also probably some people trying to get, not even some people, groups of people, different people trying to get, okay, this is the message that we think should be out there about this situation. And that's probably happening not just on one side. It's probably happening on multiple sides, from multiple angles, for multiple different reasons. And so I think that's a big reason that we're seeing so many articles about this and it's being pushed. Plus, people love bad news. People love to click bad news. At the end of it, it's not a great situation for the league, but less about the situation being that players might not show up. That's a bad situation for the league if it happens. But the bad situation about this is we're less than a month from kickoff, and any positive news gets overshadowed by this type of news. And that's not great for when you're already a little bit behind on ticket sales. You're hoping to kind of knock it out of the park with ratings and kind of trying to see what your baseline is for a Friday night game, which I'll remind you, the league kicks off on a Friday, right? And so it's, in a perfect world, the league would hope people would be talking about the things that I just mentioned, the training camps, media day, Zach, media day. Hopefully, maybe some things will come out of that that'll kind of get people talking in more of a positive light.
Yeah.
But kind of as you mentioned, we saw kind of clarification on Daryl Johnston's on what was actually said. Because I'll be honest, Zach, even before this was public, I saw some of what potentially was going to come out and what potentially was happening behind the scenes. And I don't know, my first thought was that it feels like there's probably more to the story. Sometimes It's best to just wait, see how things play out. And so I was actually surprised. To see it go out. And then it was, interesting to see just a couple hours later, there was clarification on it. And I said, oh, that's why you wait and see how it plays out, because that's maybe not, but potentially the missing piece in this kind of discussion here. Is it for sure? I don't know. I'm not there. Right. So if it comes out, I don't know, if somebody has a recording, don't be mad at me because I said it didn't happen. I'm just saying, I don't know. I look back to USFL season 1, Zach. We were there in Birmingham for that kickoff game, and we saw Daryl Johnston like unloading trucks and like getting gear for people. And I'm like, that seems like a long, a far distance to go. But maybe, who knows? Maybe things are just not great. Maybe, I don't know. It just seems strange to me that Front Office Sports is kind of running with it with such a direct tie, and ESPN being a broadcast partner. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go with, like we just talked, Pete, you can write what you want. I know that it's a little unorthodox when you know that front office is fully owned by Redbird, and that you have ESPN, who, I know while not owning, they are a very vetted interest partner, as they've been stated in this league. And, I'll admit, the last thing, if you're an average Joe and the last thing you go on ESPN and check like UFL, last thing they talked about was release of the schedule in January, and then this is the next big thing. No training camp mentions or anything, which that's a whole other subject of itself. But, to go back on this whole release on like just some of what is the saga right now, and I think it's going to be the main thing we're going to be hearing most bigger sites talk about until the season kicks off. And we'll cover it too, but realize unlike them, us, we talk training camps, we talk media days. It's about everything the league's doing. So that's the difference and the nuance we're trying to discuss here to make it more clear. It's just big media bag. No. It's different. You have to realize it's much different when you're in a niche sport like this. The Johnston part of this, I have to kind of pick apart. Realize his position. So there's Johnston, the player from the Cowboys legend, and Johnston, who is the Fox employee. So, he is basically the top man from the Fox side of this spectrum that is in the league right now. And he has to protect the interests of what is a company that, by the slices of the pie, pretty much owns the majority of the UFL. So, he's done and keep in mind, this isn't the first rodeo for him with union negotiations. We remember when the USFL was doing its own negotiations in 2023 when they were doing negotiations moving on from 2022 into 2023, he had come out and he said, I support your efforts, but I strongly advise not to go down this path as well. So, again, you have to remember he's hired to protect investments of the company. So anything he does, it is, he's going to protect Fox's interests, but he will also, if they get a deal done and they work a deal, they're going to work a deal. So I say this because his quotes kind of sympathize with that, where it's like, hey, I have to help run this, but also we're still at the table. We just have to make it work out. Because the Kevin Seifert earlier today, while we're recording, put out basically a response from the UFL via Daryl Johnston of his own quotes, since he's mainly linked to the reports about the cuts, and kind of clarifying some things about what went on earlier this week. So here's what I got. There's a lot of quotes. Bear with me. We're going to go through them bit by bit. So jumping into this, he goes, quote, This is an irreplaceable 2 days, referring to media days. We can't do this at any other time the rest of the season. So it was really emphasizing the importance of these 2 days to not only use as a league, but to use as an individual player within our league. And remember, the original rumor is they were going to sit out media days. So he was coming down with saying, hey, we have to nip this in the bud, is what they were doing. To continue, more quotes, quote, so I stress to our coaches, there's some talk that there could be an opportunity to boycott this event, and just please let the guys know how important this is, not only to use as a league, but them as individual players. And the league will look at this conduct detrimental to the league, which could raise the level of termination. You're not going to get cut, but it can raise this level, which I do find interesting because there was a bit of discussion, I'll let you go with this, Stefan, that some of the rumored pieces could go against some bargaining agreement guidelines if there were cuts based on union-related activity. And I think that is a very big quote he wants, because that is basically saying we weren't going to cut him over it. We just were going to put him on alert, because the original rumor was they were going to cut him over it. And that's where you're going, wait a minute, now we're talking legal action stuff. And that's definitely, I think, one of the reasons why he had to make a statement like within 24 hours to ESPN about this.
100%. Yeah, that's why I'm not surprised to see a response. I'm glad to see a response too, right? Alternatively, you don't get a response. You're also like, well, what is happening behind the scenes? So it is good to see them come back with something. It is what I was hoping to hear. Is it the case or not? Again, I wasn't there. I'm not really going to speak on
and
whether
that's very key.
Is,
we are
right?
a third party. We are getting this secondhand right now with some insider stuff. But yeah.
But I'll always say, kind of like what I was saying earlier, like it's always kind of sometimes better to just see how some of these things play out, because sometimes a bold statement comes out and there might be a reason for that. And it might be because, one side of the party wants the discussion to be about this particular thing. Not to say that that's the case, but this is how things work in like the real world, in the business world, in the everything world of reality, because we don't live in a fantasy world where things just are perfect in the way they are. So, I'm glad to see a response. We'll see what happens like in the next coming weeks, right?
Yeah.
I look back, Zach, you'll remember, right? Remember with season 1 of the USFL, and right before the season, there was a lawsuit from the original USFL, and they said, you can't use our name. And there was a lot of worry. What's this league going to do? Are they going to repackage all their merchandise? Are they going to change it? No, what happened? Nothing, Zach. They got it taken care of behind the scenes. Sooner or later, that news comes out. Great, boom, season goes on just like it always was going to go on.
Right.
And yeah, this one's a little bit trickier of a situation because, there is situations in the world, Zach, and I don't know, actually think I need to explain this to you, but I'll say it just for the sake of saying it.
You can talk to the audience about this too. I mean, that's the thing,
There's situations in life where both sides can be right. There's situations in the world where both sides can be wrong. And the reason I say that is because it seems like everybody's instinct online and in the world in general is to assume that one side is right, one side is wrong. One side's a good guy, one side's a bad guy. And there is a reality here where both sides are good guys, right? And when we look at the situation of it, right, as a league, they're trying to fill seats. They're trying to fill a new time spot with Friday nights. Again, this is not based on anything I heard, but there could be a reality where there's discussions on, is there a season 3, right? And so,
I mean, that's what they're hoping to have,
right? And so if that's the situation though, they're trying to be money conscious to stretch the league as long as possible. And then on the other side, there's players that were, you look back at the old USFL discussions, and there was like iterative pay increases and player of the week bonus. There's players that are looking like that at that and saying, hey, what about these things? We should continue those discussions. And so you can see there is a situation where both sides of this are trying to do a positive thing. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna ignore it. I'm not even gonna jump into that.
Sometimes I do these things on purpose.
All I'm telling you is if you listen to the video, to the audio section of this, that's not gonna make any sense. Just jump into the video later. But anyway.
Sometimes I do those things on purpose, and that was not one of them, which makes it a little bit funnier. I'll be honest.
You watch. That's gonna be gift and put into the Discord as soon as possible for this next episode.
Wait. I look forward to it.
But no, if you want finish, I'm sorry for interrupting you.
I don't know if I have anything to add after that one, Zachy boy.
and I'll wrap this up with the last quote Daryl had, and just kind of my own final take on it, like similar with you were doing there. Daryl ends his response to Seipert's right up on this going, "We continue to negotiate in good faith. We want this to be resolved so we can start focusing on football. It's not an easy thing to have hanging over your head as you start training camp. The big thing for us is to make sure we get this done in a way that benefits both parties," which has been kind of the message that's been going through is, I think the UFPA, as we have discussed on this platform here, ATU, they have said multiple times over the course of well over a year that they can do a better job than what the Steelworkers did. And I think there's a lot of pressure on them to get an even better deal than what the USW did last year, because they talked a big game. I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I'm saying that they talked a big game that they could get a bigger deal or a better deal for players on some things, and not just pay. I have to reiterate, folks, this isn't just a pay thing. I see a lot of people talking about just pay. There's other stuff that goes into this. If you want me to point you in a direction that makes the most sense what else they're looking for, look up the old United States Football League Players Union X account. They have their old CBA on how they were going to elevate benefits and certain extra entities of their CBA over several years. This isn't just a one-off. Like, guys, you have to understand, they're trying to do 2 to 3 years down the road. You're not going to get everything in the first year, but CBAs are almost always negotiated where it's increases over time for the most part. So look at that as an example. I implore you to do so if you're any curious or wanting to dissect this situation as much as possible, because we're talking not only pay, but in more particular, like you brought up, Stefan, bonuses. Remember, guys, the league caught a lot of flack last year for not paying out bonuses. That's a union thing. Like, that's a big no-no. That's in your contract that you signed. And again, if you want to defend a company, that's fine, but the company should also execute on its own principles. It didn't do that last year. Whether you agree that it was, the merger, we had to save money from merger. No. That is in a collective bargaining agreement. They have the right to those bonuses if they make player of the week. So again, there are reasons for that. You have bonuses to worry about. You've got IR payments. You've got training camp payments. You've got possible housing you have to talk about as well, which, by the way, housing stipends were in the CBA for the last one. You got to discuss that as well. And the biggest one that has been talked about some, but I think is what I think they're mainly fighting for, healthcare and health insurance. How much coverage do these players get? Because we understand when the season's over, the league kind of goes into this like stasis and it kind of shrinks down. Players are kind of technically in a league year until way later in the year when the contracts reset. And I think they just want to know, hey, how long does that stipulation last for? And what are the guarantees on coverage? Like, it's not just pay. I get really frustrated when I read people's comments. It's all about pay, guys. They're trying to get a paycheck. That's not all how CBAs work. You have to understand these are multi-tiered agreements to get things that are protected. I cannot tell you enough, like from experience working in a construction union, and a really damn good construction union, by the way, because there's some terrible ones out there. But the one I was in, and just having that history of my folks being in that, my dad especially being in that SKU, like there's so much more than pay that goes into these things, guys. Like, you really have to understand it's not just a pay scale thing, and it's not just an instant payday thing. It's stuff to grow alongside. So the league definitely can have its stance. It should, but don't discredit the players wanting something. And keep in mind, we applaud players to get back to the NFL, but like some of these guys are becoming career UFL guys. You have to understand, like, they're coming back year over year. So to expect them to just keep on, being like, well, it's just for an NFL thing. It's like, well, no, some of these guys are doing these for careers right now. And like, they're putting money away and all that, like 55K in 3 months is nothing to slouch at. Like, you can do a second job on the side and put away good money. So like, plus bonuses, if you guarantee the bonuses, that's my thing. It's a much more nuanced situation than just talking about pay. I really want people to understand this, and I believe the deal gets done. It's got to get done. If Fox and Redbird really are focused and are as dedicated as they say to the league existing and going beyond this year and making these commitments and renting a place in Arlington, they're going to get this deal done. There's no way they can have a stoppage and feel like they're going to have some solidity moving forward while they're also dealing with ticket sales issues. That's the thing. Yeah. They'll get this done. They have other things they need to start focusing on, and they will find a negotiation and a middle ground. So that's my final bit on it. I really don't want to, and we'll talk on this aside, Stefan. Mm-hmm. If we need to revisit, we will, but I don't want to, for folks out here, I don't want to come back and keep reiterating the same things because you guys want to talk about season as well. But if it's a big news piece, we'll jump on. But that's my final talk on this for the time being, because it's just going to become a loop.
It's just going to be the same conversation. Again, if there is something new to talk about, we'll talk about it, either here or on Around the UFL. So it's not like we're ignoring the story. But as Zach, like you pointed out, unlike a lot of these other publications that are only talking about the bad news, we're talking about that. Plus, Zachy boy, we got kickoff in 3 weeks.
Yes.
So, I mentioned on the last episode, you can't be a doomer. You shouldn't be a doomer. Everybody out there, if you're a doomer, stop it right now, because 3 weeks from now, 3 weeks from today, unless you're watching it late, which you shouldn't be, we got kickoff. We got spring football. We got spring stock 4, Zach. Spring stock 4. And man, today, we were talking last week, training camp is starting to feel a little real. Today is another piece of that. We got media day, kind of just a segue. Daryl Johnston brought it up. Woo. This is an important day for the league, not just for the league, but for the players as well. And we've already seen it. Some of the clips that have come out have been pretty fun. Zachy boy, we've had so far at the time of recording. So there might be some more that come out tonight. But we had a pretty fun one from the Brahmas. Wade Phillips out there doing the finger guns. I saw some cowboy hats. It felt very Texas. I was very happy to see that. We haven't seen the Roughnecks one yet. And so if it hasn't been recorded and anybody's listening, get some swangas. That's one. 2, get the trophy. Just you might as well get some postseason picks with the Roughnecks,
just get them out of the way
that
for
trophy, with the lighting and all that. Just do it right now. Boom. Get signed up.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing this alternate reality in some way. Tell me when tell me when the Fusion Collider is created, and we'll go and check it out elsewhere.
Okay, the swangas was probably the most important part. If they can put a swanga in there. It doesn't even need to be on a car, just somewhere sticking up, swanged out. But we saw the Battlehawks. We saw some from the Showboats.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, I was going online to find a post, and I saw a funny post.
So there's stuff all over the place. First off, I'll say the cowboy hat is making the rounds on all the teams right now, and it looks like unless they somehow come out with posts right now for another team, it looks like they're splitting it between 3 and 5 because it's a 2-day event. So looks like we're getting those 3 teams today, and I would imagine the other 5 come out tomorrow when we drop this episode. Yeah. So watch out for that. But I tell you, my favorites, like the one you said about Wade Phillips, I love so much because, like, remember, he's the son of legendary Bum Phillips. Bum Phillips used to, and if you guys don't know, or if you need to get a little real recollection on football history, Bum Phillips was the epitome of Texas culture in football. The man dressed like a Texan for every single game he coached. He's one of the greatest NFL coaches that out there, one of the most successful NFL coaches of his time, and the former Houston Oilers head coach as well. And so, I think that hat, like I said, I've seen a lot of old video of Bum and like kind of his mannerisms and all that. Wade kind of does it a little bit, but he's not exactly his dad in that way. But like he looks like almost like near to him because of it. It's kind of freaky to see.
Oh yeah,
but in like pretty cool way. So I like that little nod. I hope that they use that a lot for Brahma's highlights when they do it, because a lot of those are a lot of these videos we see for social, they're for bump outs for like television for the most part. So like that's what you're going to see a lot of it. There's picture days and whatnot, but a lot of this is for Fox and ESPN to use for their productions to send it to the truck and punch it up if for the situation. So like I like that one. I saw that they brought out for Donald De La Haye, they brought out the bubble gun. So that was out and back in full force. They've used that one in the past as well. I think it was Max Dugan who had the American flag on his back for one of the
Andy Isabella.
Andy Isabella, thank you.
Yes.
Dugan was in another one.
He was.
But yeah, they were highlighting Isabella. That's right. Thank you for clarification. And then another one I hope that I see for all the teams I liked. They had this year they had one where it's a platform where it's the coaches in the middle and the players are all like applauding or like pumping the coach up.
Yeah.
I hope they do that. I'm hoping to do that for every team because that's kind of a cool new one. I don't remember them doing that in any year they've done media days.
No. Especially, dude, if they got to get loud for CJ Johnson. The amount of slander I see about my head coach online is borderline disgusting, Zach. Disgusting.
And I admit I am part of that slander.
I know it's a bunch of nonsense. You guys just wait. Oh, it's going to be it's going to be good. It's going to be so good. It's going to be 12 goods in a row and no bads.
Bads. I wish the best. That's all I can tell you.
Well, you're going to be there for that first game, dude. Just imagine. I get
I'm the only one that's actually. Remember, I'm the only one that's got actual stakes riding on this. I'm giving you a pass because I'm that confident.
What is our bet again?
To be determined what I get penalized with, but basically, it's if I lose, I have to do something we agree on. If I win, nothing happens because I'm that confident that they're not going to. That St. Louis is going to walk out of. That St. Louis will walk out of Houston with a victory week 1. So
I'll figure something.
I'm being generous. I'm like, you know what?
Like something crazy happens, but I just don't imagine that the.
I mean, shoot, I'll let you pick it. Honestly, since
I'll find
it's
something.
yours to lose, I'll let you pick what happens to me, if it happens, which I don't think it will. So,
I went in the chat the other day because down the road from us we have a yacht club. And I don't know, sometimes I forget about like reality and like the real world and how things might tie together. And I was in the chat and I said something about going to the yacht club. And I don't know why I didn't, like everybody thought I was talking about some showboats thing. I was like, oh, no. But, and when I say the yacht club, it's not fancy, but it's not fancy. Mm-hmm. I went there at 6:00, right? Okay. And I thought I was going to avoid the early bird dinner people. I did not avoid the early bird dinner people. I was the youngest person there. I'm 40, Zach. I was the youngest person in there easily by 25 years, maybe by 40 years in some instances. And they eyed me down like I had invaded some secret like mafia meeting or something. And now that just makes me want to go there more because I'm like, what are these old people up to? Old lady in her sweater looking over at me while she's chopping her prime rib. Her husband's rattling his walker, like I'm going to get you, son. I don't know what was going on in there, but I am intrigued.
I know from visiting you, it's a little ways down, but like part of me wished you had shown up in your your golf cart.
I wish if I could pick you up from the damn airport in the golf cart, dude.
I mean, that would be a trip, but yeah, that would be something to do.
It would take us hours.
I know. Like I'm thinking about riding down the highway on a goddamn golf cart in Texas.
It goes like 28, like 30 downhill. No, but the fact
what's the plan?
Yeah.
What?
Well, it's like. The road coming into my neighborhood, it's kind of like one lane. I give it 2 lanes either direction.
Yeah.
But there's not like a sidewalk there's really no wiggle room there's road and there's like either lake or forest on either side. And so when I see people riding their bike or walking down that road, I'm like, you couldn't find another way.
Oh no.
This is how you choose to end your life because even in a car, I don't feel safe. So that street, I almost said it and doxed myself where I live, but the street that I live off of
dodged a bullet there.
is one of the most dangerous streets in the country. One of the most by death. So
Lordy.
when I see people riding their bike on it, I'm like, what are you? Okay. Anyway.
Oh, Lord.
Back to news.
Well, yeah.
Anytime I start talking about nonsense.
Well, yeah, it sucks. Yeah, we can't even talk about your team, but I'm sorry. Picturing freaking golf cart going down.
Oh, we're utilizing that golf cart.
My only thought on that story is knowing you and how I think you originally got the golf cart. That would be something knowing you'd be like, no, I just want a yacht to piss people off. Just to say
I want
have
a boat.
yacht.
No, Zach, dude, and I want a pontoon boat more than anything.
Thank you. You are speaking my language. I need a 6-pack and I need a folding chair on that deck. That's what I want.
My wife says, but they don't go fast. And my response to that is, good.
Yeah.
I don't want to die. I want to sit out on the lake and watch like spring football. Like me, the dream is it's Saturday. I got to cover a UFL game and I'm doing it from the middle of the lake. Like to me, that's the dream, you know? But I don't know if you know this, Zach. Boats are expensive. And even after you own them, they're expensive. So I don't own a boat. I'm probably not going to own a boat, but I would love to own a boat.
You know, I'll tell you, and this is my segue here. I'll tell you who I think is boating right now, just from experience and kind of as we've gotten to know him over the years outside of football or, you know, his online or whatnot. I bet Jamar Smith's enjoying himself right now fishing. Because we had a legend in our circle decided to retire for this season, and Jamar Smith, former Stallions quarterback, was third string last year, but remember was starter for 2 seasons for the Stallions, won a championship with them in all 3 years, but started and was a key part of the 2022 season in getting a championship for the Stallions in that inaugural year. He has chosen to retire for this season. You know, again, I think for the sake of us and like our show, it's very just, you know, for us it's kind of sad because, like, you know, not only did, you know, we got to meet him on occasion, and not only like spring stock, but like we got to watch as he celebrates his victories when we were at the first championship game and going in that locker room and checking out things, and like, you know, just I don't know, yeah, like it's just a little different for me with this guy because like he kind of was embodying like I think that character of like I get that chance, I'm with Skip, you know, I'm making the most of my new opportunity with this, you know?
Yeah.
Plus that inaugural game, him scoring a touchdown to win the damn thing, the fireworks at the end, like it was just the whole vibe. He really helped kick things off, you know?
Well, the crazy thing too, Zach, because remember, he wasn't even the starter in that game. He was coming in for an injured Alex Magoo. Mm-hmm. And so as Stallions fans are watching that game, you know, deep down in the back of their head, they're like, uh-oh, are we in trouble? And then this dude just comes out, balls out, wins the game, goes on to give him like one hell of a season, lead him to a championship. Second season starter gets injured. We see Alex Magoo come in. But did we see Jamar be angry on the sidelines? Hell no. No. He was like a half coach, half cheerleader. He was there to amp those guys up. And we saw it again last season. And it is sad to see, right? Because when I think of spring football, and we even talked about this, it's funny, Zach. Remember when we first started this show, we said in a few years, there's going to be guys that we look back on, and these are the guys that are the spring football legends. These are the guys that made names for themselves in this sport. And now we've been covering this thing so damn long that we're now starting to see some of these guys retire.
Yeah.
And it's not just him. There's been a few situations of that this season, even last season, but three-time champion with Birmingham, over 1,700 passing yards, 11 touchdowns. Again, a three-time champion, Zach.
Yeah.
I don't care what the league is. I don't care if it's the Cornhole Championship. If you can get 3 championships, let alone 3 in a row, you did your part. You did your part.
Yeah. And he gracefully took his third string role last year. You know, I know some of us were wondering if he had even a shot to get the backup role. And, it didn't work out. Matt Corral and came in, Adrian Martinez. These were guys that were, ones I think were that next phase of where we're at now. And I think Jamar took it really gracefully and kind of became like a coach last year in a way, and kind of like almost like a real locker room presence type of guy, but he has always, I think, just been really good at, I think just kind of keeping level and being, accepting of a situation, being able to play, always seemed really appreciative for the opportunity he's gotten. And so, yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate that he has to go this soon, I feel, but I also think the time is now. It makes sense, and I think, I just wish him the best. I really do. Glad we got to chat with him in person and be able to kind of talk the real Jamar a few years ago. And I imagine he's enjoying himself, and also looking into, as I remember from that interview, maybe he's looking into chiropractic right now as he was talking.
It's always interesting to see what these guys' post-football careers are, because it's funny. There's a lot of surprising career shifts in this field. I think there's probably this assumption from outsiders just kind of looking in of, all these guys know how to do is play football. That's not the case at all, because we've seen a few of these guys move on to interesting careers that you might not think of right away. So sign them up,
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. And it left a void in that roster because people were wondering, well, who's going to step in, And like I said, Skip kind of announced it said a player was retiring, and it was all but confirmed by our James Larson that he is, along with the fact that he was also not on the signed QBs list from the mini camp letter. And so, kind of had some speculation. Some folks were wondering, hey, maybe this is McCarron's way back in. Maybe you have I know Ducky and several others really want Kyle Sloter to come back, which, hey, sign me up for that, because remember, former Stallions quarterback as well, who does have a ring, by the way, for his year 2 escapades with the team. But no, we had a different name that I think really no one had talked about, because it kind of felt like he was on his way out too. And I'm kind of surprised, but I understand if this is what I think is going to happen with him with this role. So Case Cookus, of all people, former Stars quarterback, remember the guy who basically led the Stars to the inaugural USFL championship, and some people believe would have won that championship if he hadn't broke his arm during the said game. He's back. Yeah. And he signed on with the Stallions. So right now, and I mean, I want to hear, I don't know if you think differently here, but I'm in the camp that he's going to be signed on as that QB3 coaching candidate. Remember, he was already looking to coach. So he's already been looking into that avenue. He'd been doing some work already this offseason. And the fact, that's why I thought he wasn't going to come back. But, now he's here now. And while I do see people that there's one or two that think maybe he's going to go for the starting gig, I'm in the camp he's going to be the QB3, that extra personnel guy in the locker room that's basically another voice and eyes and ears for the coaching staff. That's how I view his role.
I'm kind of with you. You know what I would really, really, really love to see Case Cookus serve a role doing this season is similar to what we saw, and this is a throwback, Zachy boy, to the linemen in the TSL, where you had Stan Bedwell was backup quarterback, but he was basically an assistant coach as well.
Yeah.
And he was out there, and he was, well, did you know Stan Bedwell's coaching in the IFL or the IFA?
Yeah, no, him and Hal Mummy are like a tandem.
Yeah.
So he stuck with them through the TSL, and then we remember, because we all thought Hal Mummy had a really realistic shot of landing a head coaching gig with the USFL or XFL. That did not come to fruition.
Unfortunately.
And so he stuck with him. He's apparently, and I have to go into a bit more with Stan. Stan also helps teach a lot of concepts that Hal Mummy goes with his own offense. So he does a lot of coaches camps. He helps with setting up a lot of the air raid offense that Hal helped kind of popularize from his teaching. So he's been with him the entire way. So yeah, now they're both in San Antonio. So they're both going to be coaching the Calabreros.
I need to get out to a game. I gotta go. It's going to be so hot, Zach, but I gotta go.
Well, here's the thing. That's the one team I want to see how this is all treated, because like the Brahmas are in town, they're playing in the Alamo Dome, but they're still playing in the same area, just in a smaller venue outdoors in San Antonio.
It's going to be so hot, Zach, but I got to go. I got to get to this damn. I got to go just to go.
We need a PFN field report to see how this game goes.
I'm going to reach out to him. I'm going to get media credentials.
I bet you can. I bet you would easily be able to, you know?
Well, you know what? I was actually sad to see them not play in Dallas, because I guess it's the same distance really from here to San Antonio. It might be a little bit longer, but anyway. Anyway, we're talking about Case Cookus here. Case Cookus, I'm glad to see him here. I would love to see him serving a role similar to what we were just talking about with Stan Bedwell. And you know what? It could be good prep for his move into coaching, you know? So you kind of get that dual role, and you never want to see it happen, but we have seen injuries happen in the past with spring leagues. And worst case scenario, you get down to that third QB. Case Cookus isn't the worst guy to have kind of behind as your double back pocket backup. You know what I mean? So I think it's a win for the Stallions. It just kind of reaffirms that the Stallions are the team to beat. They got just as much talent as any team could have. And so it's going to be interesting to see how they lose to the Roughnecks this year.
Yeah, I mean, we'll find out. Although that streak got broken last year for Houston teams getting a
they changed the damn name. But I'll just have to make sure.
No gamblers, no fun, no upsets that way. Maybe that does change, but it doesn't look like it will unless the football gods smile upon the fields of the Houston crowds the day in H-Town. No, the resources that the Birmingham has along with the roster, there's a reason why we keep harping and we keep saying it is the team to beat no matter what right now. And they've loaded up again. Zach Potter or not be damned, they have loaded up again. And even if you want to talk about like upgrades, like, Jamar, I love Jamar. But yeah, I feel like Case here with this, I feel like he adds even a slight bit upside too. And not saying, again, I don't believe the Case is going to get a start this year unless it's like disaster in that roster with quarterbacks. And part of it's because you and I know this. Case Cookus, when is a good line existed with Case Cookus ever?
Yeah.
Because we used to harp on Bart Andrus. Not year one, it was one thing, but like year two, Bart Andrus, we're like, how did you not upgrade this line?
Just protect that poor guy, man.
And then
I know.
We went into to Memphis last year, like, oh, look, all these veterans. He's going to get this best line ever. And he still got killed. And I know some of it was like the narrative change where it's like, well, now he's getting in his way. It's like, yeah, but then you look at the tape and like, if he plays, this is the best team with the best, with some of the most consistent offensive line talent when it comes to eval. If he makes the field, he shouldn't have any reason to be panicky. But I don't think he makes the field. And it's partially because they will protect those other two, whether it's Magoo or Corral, very well enough to where they'll get things done. So
agreed. So, but as a Stallions fan, this does probably feel good because you got some depth when it comes to quarterback, right?
I would be ecstatic. Like I'll go as far as to say I'm not gonna name who wrote this up. We had someone on one of the Facebook groups that I'm in. They're like, isn't there a salary cap in the UFL? I'm like, there's not a salary cap, dude. Because he's like, well, we can't just keep letting these teams get these guys. It's like, well, no. And I mean, Case was, I was going to say, like, they're teams that talk to him as well, apparently. Just didn't go to him. Like, that's the thing. Players have a choice too. You got to remember that. Like, you don't, like Chris Odom, we just talked about this, like one of the recent shows ATU wise. Chris Odom left your Roughnecks. He is now at the rival just north of you.
He didn't see the vision. I guess he just didn't see. Maybe he didn't like swing as. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I'll have a chat with him when we're up there in Arlington and be like, man, what's happening? Maybe I can convince him to come back by the end of that game. Maybe. Ooh, never mind. I got to stop talking about my master plan here. But
oh yeah, don't reveal
the
the
ref
details.
check might clear in that game. Uh-oh. Anyway.
While Case is looking at the Stallions, his former team, while we're kind of catching up on the news and while we're catching up on the season, is making a lot of plans to, I think, really get the Memphis market interested. For those that need a refresher, not to shy away from this, Memphis, not a great year ticket-wise. They were the lowest in the league last year. Whether it was poor record, trying to advertise in the market, whatnot, it was a hard sell for some fans. There are diehard Yacht Club fans. I respect the hell out of them, but there's going to be some work by the league, by the way, that they need to get stuff and get activated folks that want to go see these games. And so there's been a lot of good marketing work in Memphis this year, a lot of focus actually in Memphis. It seems like it's the one that gets the most attention for that reason, I think, alone. But they put an entire press release on the roadmap for how and where they're going to be. If you wanted any indication that they are dead set on trying to get Memphis to get people in seats and course correct from maybe mistakes last year with how they marketed out there, they are going hardcore with this. So they call it the March to Kickoff is what they're doing. And so starting already this month, they'll have more events as of today while we're releasing this episode. They're essentially having community events all over the Memphis metro and just going anywhere and everywhere that is big events. So March 1st was the first one we already missed at the Alpha Omega Veterans Masquerade Ball. But today they have two events they're going to be at the Germantown Chamber of Commerce, First Fridays, I know the refs has mentioned that on the past, of course, for other stuff in Canton, but they're all over the place. And then they're also going to be at the University of Memphis for the basketball game against USF. And then there's just a slew of stuff all the way to March 30th to the home opener. Yeah. Again, if you don't think they want this market to work, then you haven't been following, because this is like the number one promoted market right now outside of St. Louis and maybe like Pablo visiting places in Michigan right now, where they are like hardcore pushing to get ticket sales up in Memphis. It is the spot they've focused most of their energy in this year.
Yeah, it feels like they're at least trying to fulfill the promise that Daryl Johnston made last year, that they were going to put more focus. And he was speaking specifically in regards to the Memphis market. And so, we're seeing that, and that's great to see. I would love to see this maybe especially in Houston, selfishly, but you know what? I'll take what we can get. It is good seeing the league out there. I said my piece on the things that I thought could be better, the things that could go better, the things that they could be doing. And this is that, right? This is that. This is exactly what I want them to be doing. Like, any opportunity there is to inform somebody that might not know that the UFL is playing or the Showboats are playing or that the Showboats are even a thing. Hey, here's this thing we got. By the way, you paid for this ticket. How much was that? Was that expensive? Ours are really cheap. You can get in for $20-25 a game. Hey, and you know what? We might even cut you a deal because we want to fill the house for our opening game that's less than a month away, and blah, 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 blah. Do whatever you need to do, right? And we're seeing a good mix here. It's kind of, like you said, First Fridays, sporting events, March Madness watch parties. It's basketball, but sports people like sports. Maybe not every one of them is going to be a football fan, but I tell you, you go to a March Madness party and say, how many of you guys watch football? Guarantee at least half of that crowd is raising their hand, probably more. Let's be honest, right? And so this is exactly what I want to see. I'm curious. I'm very excited to see what are the results of this. Is it going to be sold out? No, I wouldn't get too crazy to say, yeah, they're going to pack the house. But are they going to do better than they've done so far? I would guarantee they're going to sell some tickets based on these efforts. Yes. They almost have to, right? So
proper marketing does work. Like, that's the thing. We've talked about this. This is one thing that I felt, even with the hubs with the USFL, they did a really good job, and we always were stressed by the former folks that operated the league there. They care about being a face on the ground. Whether it is a Gambor's jersey that is on the ground, they wanted the league's brand in your face locally, because not everyone goes online. Not everyone just instantly reacts online. You have to do as much up on the ground work and put yourself in a community than you do when it goes to online, because they're different people. Not everyone goes online like some of us a lot of us diehard fans do. You have to find that other crowd. So like, this is an effort that I really like to see. I'm hoping that, they're feeling like that other markets can catch up and that they're doing less because of it. But that being said, I want this to be a blueprint for all 8 markets, especially. I mean, look, we've had a lot of people, we've talked about this on like how much flack Birmingham gets. And it's like, well, guys, when I hear that no one's putting billboards in Birmingham, or if I don't see roadmaps like this, like, again, can you blame people for not getting activated? Like, that's, again, we go back to the business. That's a good business thing. Now do it everywhere else, Right. Like, I'm like, look at this list. It's all over the place. They're going to marathons. They're going to St. Patrick's Day parades in different areas of the Mid-South, to be proper. They're having watch parties for March Madness at 2 different locations, and they're doing a virtual presentation on rules with Dean Blandino. Now, I want to hear more details on how I can get in on that action to sit down and listen. But,
far, there's only 2 teams, 2 season ticket holders that can get access to that. It's the Showboats and the Defenders season ticket holders. Why just those 2? I don't know.
Unless other people get some emails, which maybe I'm missing, but I feel like that's going to be all season ticket holders. Like, it's not going to be just 2.
It's got, like, why would they just? Anyway, yeah, that seemed odd to me as well.
But here's the final kicker. So at the end of the schedule, so the day before the game, they're doing a Fan Fest kickoff at Ghost River Brewing, followed up then by the home opener where they're playing my Michigan Panthers down at Simmons Bank Liberty Field. And yes, Simmons Bank's a little different this year, but I'm telling you, if the league keeps going, and like I said, they keep saying they're looking at next year, like, that venue's going to be fantastic. And I mean that's I think why they're also focusing is like, hey, we get one of the newest upgraded venues in the league, and we're in a market that's in our neck of the woods. Like, let's put some effort in here too. Besides the ticket sales being lowest of the league all last year. So they know, but like, I think for us, like, we look at it as fans and go, that's awesome. I hope they keep realizing you got to do that more. Because that was missed last year. Merger be an excuse, be damned or not. Local marketing does matter, people. Like, 100%. you have to mix in and like that and realize that, yes, they want this to look major league in many ways on TV, but you need to use minor league ticketing and marketing practices that have been proven tried and true by markets that have done it in smaller level sports.
Yeah.
It's so much more goes into this than just throwing a graphic onto a social media page and hoping to God you click a link. So good stuff. Hope the league keeps doing stuff like this, because that's great. I love seeing a roadmap like that. And it, again, I mean, if you're everywhere and you make sure people know you're there, gets around a little bit. It does help. Does help.
They're set to have a pretty, they could potentially have a pretty good upgrade in their season record this year, right? They have Ken Wisenhunt coming in as the head coach. You have Jaron Horton coming in from the defensive side, which, if I may remind you, he turned that Maulers team around pretty, maybe not single-handedly, but it's hard to argue that the defense was not a huge part of that turnaround for that team. And, as Boogie would say, another one. It seems like every week we have another one of those Maulers coming over to that team. And, I wouldn't be too shocked if they're right up at the top of that UFL division, USFL division rather, with the Houston Roughnecks.
Oh, they're definitely going to give, I think, those teams a run for their money. Jaron definitely had, if we're talking some of the most success against Skip Holtz's offenses in the past. And then as he's been in our Discord, and we know this for a fact because he's mentioned how he kind of owns Michigan, which, his last time he was in the league, he kind of owns Michigan. So, I have a little bit extra, spite going into this home opener or into their home opener, because I'm like, got to prove something different this time, man. Like, Memphis is much. I know you're talking 12-0 for your Roughnecks, but like, Memphis is the real wild card in the USFL division. Let's be frank; they could be boom or bust on how good they are. They could succeed my freaking team, so I'm worried about them a little bit. Just a little though.
Well, we're close. We're close to the season, and we're close to knowing how things are going to shake out. I've hesitated to say it, but I'm fearful of ref's law. I hope this is the year, Zach. We've been doing this show. This is the year ref's law gets broken, where both of our teams win on the same weekend. Please let it be the first week. I don't want you to have to wait for your win, because I know we're getting our win. Friday, March 28th. That's our first win. Yours? We'll see. Is it going to be March 30th against the Showboats, or are you going to have to wait a couple weeks?
I think so, but I don't think it's going to be a comfortable. I think it's going to be a close game. I actually think it's going to be one of the best games of opening week if I'm going to put out a take right now before we fully dive into eval. But yeah, that one is on my card to be like nail biter for me to the end.
Yeah. Well, we're getting close. It's feeling real. So again, don't be doomers out there, guys. There is good news happening.
Yes.
We just talked about it.
Season's still going up. And again, doesn't hurt to keep up with things that are going to affect the league in a way, or what I'm saying more is like what could affect the league for this year. But but to give you again, a realistic take, I'm hard pressed to see how they don't start on time. They just got to get stuff done is how it is. This is how it's been before. And it will happen and get done again. So
100%.
Till that time, we're on our way. A few more weeks out, and we will be sitting cozy Friday night, talking live at Springstock 4. Reminder, that is going to be March 28th down in Houston, Texas at TDECU Stadium. Details will be revealed in the coming week, 2 weeks or so. We just need to hammer that out. But trust me, we will be there. We're going to be rocking with some of those rowdy Roughnecks fans that we got to meet last year at Rice Stadium, and now we get to have the full attended and live show out that way with those folks. So they're good people we met. So I can't wait to see some of them again and kind of chat it up and see how they've been doing. But yeah. Live stream will be up soon enough too, with like the link, so you can save it when you want. Stick around for that, and you can keep up with that by subscribing to us here at the UFL Podcast. Click the bell and the subscribe button. It builds morale not only for you, but for us too at the UFL Podcast. And you also get reminders with that when we go live for Around the UFL, which we are doing weekly right now, Mondays, 6 o'clock Eastern on the same channel, where it's not just me and the ref, but we're talking James Larson, Ducky. You know, we've got Jake Ball coming on it from time to time. Maybe we
depends
get
on
Luke,
how the grilling weather
depends on the grilling weather. Maybe Luke Miller joins us again. You know, you never know. We have Nick Thorne. Maybe he gets a little time again. I know he's been busy, but Mr. Roster Doc extraordinaire himself, and you should definitely check out his stuff too while we're talking at it, because free Roster Doc that he updates meticulously. The man does so much good work for the community with that. It goes unsung, honestly, but great stuff from him. But yeah, check out that Rowdy Crew, 6 o'clock Eastern time on Mondays. We have a great time with it, and hopefully more guests as we're going down the pipeline. We are planning on it, so we just need to lock them in. But stay tuned for those as we do through the season. Also, follow us at UFL Podcast on your favorite social. And while you're at it, follow Around the UFL at Around the UFL on your favorite social platform as well. While you are at it, support the show. Royal Retros Royal Retros USFL Podcast at checkout, 10% off your order when you check out. Supports the show, helps us do some extra things with the show that we get to do, and it's been a great ride so far. 3.5K subs and strong, still climbing up the charts. So appreciate you all as always. So any other final words, Ref, before we dip off? It's been a packed show. It's going to keep being this way. Season's coming
100%. Up. We're at the final sprint. Things are getting hot and heavy. News is coming fast and furious, and I'm ready for it, and I'm super excited, Zach. It's going to be fun to have you out here. We're going to be mucking around on the golf cart. We're going to be at barbecues. We're going to be going to football games. We're going to get some Buc-ee's, and it's going to be good.
Hey, when him and I get together,
that's all I got.
When him and I get together, it's a blast. I'm just stoked to get down there and get some time with you again, man. It's always a good time when the ref and Zach are in town.
Yeah.
Until then, we are sticking to the shows virtually, and soon enough we'll be live for that, and probably an ATU episode, actually, given the schedule. So that'll be interesting as well, at least for us two. So stay tuned to that. He's the ref. I'm Zach Conlon. Catch you on the other side. Episode 97 coming your way next week. Stick tuned for that. Season's on the way. We'll catch you next time.